Yes, guys, welcome to the Tottenham Lens. It's great to see you all again. Hope everyone's well. So, we're going to get straight into it. Tottenham are linked with more wingers than Wingstop chicken wings, man. Honestly, linked with Rafael Leão, Savinho, Cody Gakpo, Rashford, Antonio Nusa. The list goes on and on and on. Now, the question is, who's right for us? Who's right for De Zerbi's system? Who's right to make him thrive in his first season or his first full season as manager? And is really going to get this Tottenham team going. So, the three names that we're going to talk about in this conversation is Rafael Leão, Savinho, Cody Gakpo. Those are the guys. They're all completely different players. So the question for me isn't who is the best player. It's more about like who really fits into De Zerbi's system and who's going to be right for Tottenham Hotspurs. We have quite a history at Tottenham where we bring through really exciting wingers who really gets you off your seats, etc. So this also, I think, needs to fit into the conversation. So let's break it down. We've got Rafael Leão. He's a type of winger that you want because defenders fear him. He's quite tall. He's at 6'2". He's powerful, frighteningly quick, and almost impossible to stop once he's getting into his full stride. He's the type of winger that can change football matches in one moment. He's got elite acceleration. One of the quickest players in Europe, I think, over like long distances. So it shows that once he starts to really build up that pace, like he's gone for dust. Once he beat the first defender, he's gone. Kind of sort of reminds me of like Aaron Lennon in ways. He's a world-class elite dribbler. He loves to isolate fullbacks. He'll receive the ball wide, square his defender up, and simply just run past defenders. He's one of the best in Europe when it comes to sort of ball progressing. He's creative. People think of him as just a goal scorer, but he's actually he's a creator. He can fulfill duties in terms of cutting the ball back, through balls, crosses, and he's built up a bit of a partnership with Theo Hernandez. And that left side at Milan is quite dangerous. Leão began his career as a striker. And that's why his movement inside the penalty boxes area is so dangerous. So where he's learned how to play as a striker, centre forward, his movement in and around the box is fitting, and it's only just helped him to become a better winger and understand what the process of what a striker's movement is. He knows how to arrive late, so that basically means when if Leao's on the left-hand side, you've got the right winger attacking the box. He basically knows how to arrive late into the box to pick up that final ball to maybe pull off a shot or get the ball back into the box. He can find pockets and finish naturally with either of his feet. So he's an outstanding winger with all of this. But no one comes into this game perfect. They all come with weaknesses. And I think with Leão is going to be quite split in terms of he doesn't always consistently press. He doesn't always track his runners. That's been the topic of conversation on social media, that he's not always constantly pressing. Doesn't always track his runners. It's almost like he's preferring to save his energy for transitions. And it works in some systems if the manager's allowing it to happen. But with De Zerbi, what does he demand? He demands work without the ball. And, if we haven't got the ball at times, we can't be called them passengers. We cannot, we can't have passengers on our team. It doesn't work like that. We can't have that. So we have to make sure that we've got players who are going to work hard. Now, the thing that could change is he could come to Tottenham. He might see it as, a change up, and he goes, you know what? I actually want to be here. De Zerbi's going to be that guy who's going to get the best out of me. So I'm actually going to, get my finger out and work hard, track back, press when I need to press, and become the winger that I can really, really be. And the thing is, there's proof out there of Leão doing this before. He used to do this stuff. He used to track back. But over the last few seasons at Milan, where things haven't been, the greatest for them, probably since the time where, since probably when they won the league, Leão hasn't been, that guy there, So we move on to Savinho. Savinho, he's probably the more of the entertainer of the wingers that we have. Well, we're interested in what we have. He looks high. He's very highly linked with Tottenham. I can see why. He's exciting. He's the one who reminds me of Aaron Lennon, because he wants those 1v1 moments. He wants to dribble past players. He wants to get the crowd off their seat. He's very direct. He hasn't got any fear. He's not a player where if he's, he loses the ball a couple of times, he's going to be like, oh God, lost the ball. What can I do? He's going to be like, no, I'm going again. And I'm going to keep going until I beat that player. Very creative and constantly wants the ball. That's the type of winger that I want on my team. That's all I'm telling you. His strengths are elite 1v1 ability. Few players attempt more few players sort of attempt more take-ons. So what I basically mean is, if we go back to like the days of like Gareth Bale and Aaron Lennon, those are the days when wingers were like wingers. Those are wingers who wanted to beat their man. These days we have a lot of wingers who want to constantly pass inside. They might receive on the other side, etc. But he wants to constantly. He wants that jaw. He wants that badge of honor in his shirt that he's beating his man, and that's the type of things that we want. In terms of his strength, he's 2-footed. So again, this allows him to play either wing, and that's what De Zerbi wants. He wants flexible players. He doesn't want players rigid and go, and you can play on one side. He wants players who are flexible. So again, he makes him an ideal candidate for us. He attacks the byline, and then that allows him to get into the space in behind. And his creativity, with Savinho, he's not obsessed with goal scoring. That's the thing which is shameful. So if you look at Harry Kane, he's like obsessed with goal. He wants to score a goal. He wants to score goals. He wants to hit the back of the net. But Savinho, his obsession is beating players, and he's more obsessed with creating. That's what makes him feel good. So I think if we can improve, his assists, which is fine, improve his goal scoring massively. His first season at Man City, fantastic. His season at Girona, fantastic. But he's had a difficult time of late at Man City. And we all know this is because, you've got wingers are probably the players on, in a Pep Guardiola system that constantly gets changed, especially at Man City. They're the ones who really struggle to sort of like get to grips with things. And if you're loved, you're loved. If you're not, then you're going to find it difficult. And we've seen that in the past with players such as Grealish and such as, Foden and such as, Savinho himself. But again, now he's got, one of his biggest strengths is he's got ball progression. He carries the ball huge distances. This is the thing, we want players to get us up the pitch. He breaks presses almost on his own. And that's definitely the type of winger that De Zerbi likes. That's the type of winger that's going to fit into a system. And I know there's questions about, where we wanted Savinho last year, and that was under Thomas Frank, and then we wanted him again at Chris, sort of like winter, and then we want him again Now, is it really De Zerbi signing? Is it a club signing? No. At the end of the day, when you want a quality player, managers are going to want that quality player. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. If you're a quality player, more than one manager is going to want you. If he was a dead player, then you ain't going to get top managers wanting to buy this, get this player. But the one thing is you can't really judge him against his being in Pep Guardiola's system. That's the thing that was massively difficult. The criticism that we're going to probably look at him is, okay, his goals. And I guess if you compare it to Leão and Gakpo, those are players who will hit the back of the net. Savinho doesn't really hit the back of the net, but he does get his assists he loves to create. So he doesn't score enough, but can we turn him into a finisher? Can we turn him into a predator in front of the goal? And, that could be the thing on the offside that can potentially work. But we'll see. I think he's the most natural tactical fit for Tottenham. De Zerbi, again, he loves his wide players who receive under pressure, beat their man, manipulate defenders, create overloads. And Savinho already does all of that. And I think he would go into that position and he would thrive. I think De Zerbi would love him. But I think he would heavily coach him on, getting his confidence back up, but also getting those goals and those assists up as well. We now move on to Cody Gakpo. Now, you could call him the complete forward. So you could look at it as Leão, he's a bit of a superstar. You could see Savinho, he's the entertainer. And then you say Gakpo, maybe the complete forward. But Gakpo, he's a safe option. He is a safe option. He's proven, he's reliable, he's versatile. And again, he is consistently productive. Now, if we look over, like Gakpo's been at Liverpool 3 seasons, if I'm correct. This guy, I think he's played 35 games in the Premier League every season. Something along those lines. So, again, in terms of like injuries, he brings consistency to the team. Always there, ready, available for us. But his strengths now we're looking at, he's got very good movement. One of his biggest qualities, he has off the ball intelligence in terms, is quite exceptional. He knows when to drift wide, when to attack the box, and when to arrive late as well. It's a bit like Leão as well. So you can see that there's got, some comparisons. Out of the three, you could debate that he's probably the best finisher of the three. Can score different types of goals, whether that's inside the box, outside the box. He actually can header as well. First time strikes, very complete, curling finishes. This is, again, leading to the versatility of him. He plays on the left wing, he plays centre forward, he can almost play as a false nine or a second striker. So again, like you can see why we're linked with these types of wingers. But flexibility, valuable. And if we were to jump the gun and go, all right, cool, we do well, we get into the top four, we get into the top four the following season, we're in the Champions League. Again, you've got this consistent player who is available over like a 50 to 60 game period of a season. That's what we need. He's got a physical profile. So if you look at Savinho, he's not the strongest, he wouldn't say that he's one of the strongest players or physically strong or, really demanding. But in terms of like Gakpo, he's tall. He's another tall player. He's 6 foot plus, Again, adds height to the front line. Again, very good ball carrying, can protect possession and can attack crosses. Weaknesses might be that he's not explosive as Leão or even Savinho. He's not as unpredictable as Savinho. One of the things that we know about Gakpo is he loves to cut in. His right foot is his favoured, and he's always doing that cutting. And once that's worked out, what does it do to his game? Again, up for debate. Let me know. Let me know how you feel about this. Gakpo does fit Tottenham under De Zerbi. Again, he'll play from the left. Again, he'll cut inside, combine with the likes of Solanke, Richarlison, whoever we have at top. He can also rotate through the middle when needed. Very adaptable. If we're looking now at sort of the stats, Rafael Leão in the last 3 seasons played 97 league games, 26 goals, 20 assists. Savinho, 37 games for Girona, 2003 to 2004 season, 9 goals, 10 assists. At Manchester City, he's played 53 games, 2 goals, 9 assists. If you look just at the stats, then you're looking at and going, you know what? I don't want Savinho. But if you're looking at doing the eye test and you're looking at these players, Savinho's probably up there with Leão. Cody Gakpo, 106 matches in the last 3 seasons, 25 goals, 14 assists. Look at those figures. That's a total contribution of what? 39. So it shows that Gakpo, he knows how to finish, he knows how to create. But when it comes down to it, who fits the Zerbi system? Who's the one you want in the Zerbi system? Like, from my selfish point of view, I want Savinho and I want Leão. I like those exciting players. I like those dribblers. I like those ones, those ball carriers, those ones who are going to, dribble past, their man. They want to beat them and they take pride in that. They're going to assist. They're going to score goals. They're going to link up. I love that passion. That is me. That's the type of wings I want. Don't get it wrong. If we could get all 3, I'd be like, great, fantastic. I would not say good no to Gakpo. Those numbers are good. They could be better, but they're better than the other 2 to a certain degree. But those are the players that I want in my team. But now, it's down to you guys. Talk to me. Who do you want? Which signing excites you the most? Is Rafael Leão worth 50 to 60 million pounds? Does Savinho have enough goals in him, in his game? Is Cody Gakpo being underrated because he plays for Liverpool? Which player would improve Dominic Solanke or Richarlison? Which players best suit Roberto De Zerbi's style of football? And if you could only sign one, who are you choosing to sign and why? Drop those in the comments. I want to know, guys. Talk to me. I want to know. Yeah? This is the Tottenham Lens. My name's Anthony. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, share, hype. Peace.